The death of Queen Victoria. Queen Victoria, one of the longest reigning monarchs in English history, passed away on the 22nd of January 1901 at the age of 81, after ruling for approximately 64 years. Her reign marked a peak in the prosperity of the British Empire, with her subjects commonly referred to as Victorians. Her death came as a shock to many, as preparations for her state funeral had not been anticipated due to the unprecedented length of her rule. Towards the end of her reign, Queen Victoria faced significant challenges and turmoil. The year 1900 was particularly distressing, marked by the strain of the Boer War and personal tragedies within her family. Her elder son, Edward, the heir apparent, survived an assassination attempt, while her eldest daughter, Vicky, the Dowager Empress of Germany, battled advanced breast cancer. Additionally, her son, Alfred, the Duke of Edinburgh, succumbed to throat cancer, and these losses deeply affected Victoria, who had already experienced bouts of depression, especially after the death of her husband. As Victoria's health declined, she experienced weight loss, decreased appetite, and deteriorating eyesight, eventually becoming wheelchair-bound and confused. Reflecting on her declining health, she expressed sadness and resignation, acknowledging her imminent passing. Queen Victoria, once a formidable ruler of the British Empire, was now facing the end of her reign and her life with a heavy heart. 3 weeks into 1901, Queen Victoria passed away at Osborne House, her residence on the Isle of Wight. Following her death, Osborne House underwent a strict lockdown, with no one allowed to leave the premises for a brief period. Phone lines were disconnected and a crowd gathered outside the gates. A note on the bulletin board announced the Queen's passing at 6:30 p.m, surrounded by her children and grandchildren. The news of her death surprised many, as her reign had been enduring, leaving preparations for her state funeral uncertain. Despite official denials of her illness, Dr. James Reed, who attended to Victoria's health for 2 decades, recognised her impending demise. The cause of Queen Victoria's death has long been debated. While she suffered from rheumatism and poor eyesight, it was a series of strokes after the 17th of January that led to her decline, causing delirium and pain. As her condition worsened, the royal family was summoned to Osborne House, where preparations for her succession were made. Surrounded by her loved ones and clergy, Queen Victoria passed away, leaving behind a legacy that would endure for generations. Prayers and hymns filled the room as Queen Victoria lay on her deathbed, surrounded by her closest family members. Despite her consciousness, her failing eyesight left her unable to see. Each family member kissed her hand and bid their farewells in their own way, while the clerics continued their chants in a futile attempt to rally her. The cause of Victoria's death remains a subject of debate, with some attributing it to a series of strokes that she suffered, while others believe it was simply due to old age and frailty. Regardless, her declining health was evident for some time, marked by her loss of appetite, exhaustion, and confusion. Following her passing, confusion arose regarding the planning of her funeral, as her unprecedented reign left no precedent for such arrangements. Despite her expressed wishes against it, a death mass was ordered by Kaiser Wilhelm, and additionally, logistical mishaps such as the forgetting of a coffin and subsequent delays occurred during the transportation of her body to London. Victoria's body was prepared for burial by her doctor and dresser, who refused embalming and instead used charcoal to mitigate odour and moisture. She was dressed in a white silk gown, adorned with symbolic items, and sentimental objects were placed inside her coffin, including a lock of hair from her close friend John Brown. Her funeral procession, marked by military honours and solemn ceremonies, reflected the magnitude of her reign. Finally, as her body was lowered into the vault at Frogmore, both Kaiser Wilhelm II and Edward VII knelt beside her coffin, paying their respects to the woman who once symbolised immense power, but passed away surrounded by her loved ones.